to an episode of Off the Shelf. I'm Time HD, and this time we found Off the Shelf was...
4 killers on the loose.
Junior.
To avoid fainting, keep repeating to yourself, it's only a movie. Only a movie. Only a movie. Only a movie. Last house on the left.
The Last House on the Left. Written and directed by Wes Craven. And, if you didn't know, this was his first film. Released in 1972. This film was incredibly controversial at the time, even making the oh-so amazing Video Nasties list. And, to be honest, obviously, most films from the time that made the Video Nasties, or was banned in a lot of places now, we laugh at, because they're not that bad. And this film, while there are a couple disturbing scenes, one being of a non-consensual act being performed on a female, I think that's a safe way to say it on YouTube. Obviously that scene is still disturbing, and there's like a murder scene of one of the girl's friend, which was also, I think, probably one of the best scenes in the movie, mainly because of the camera angles and the sound design. That scene was probably my favorite scene in the movie. But the rest of it was a fucking clown show. It was hilarious. I genuinely don't... I mean, obviously, it was a different time, but, like, stories of people vomiting on the streets and trying to break into the fucking projector room to destroy the negative, and, like, Wes Craven commenting on it 30 years later, it's like, it was phenomenal. Never change, man, never change. But, like, I truly think that maybe, I mean, obviously films were very different in the in the 60s and the early 70s, and, like, really, the 70s kind of birthed exploitation cinema. Late 60s, 70s, like, late 70s, mid-70s, really birthed exploitation cinema, which really birthed very disturbing movies at that time. But before that, movies were more safe. You know, that's why so many, like, risque films are being banned and being put on the nasties list, because films just weren't seen as that kind of art form yet. I mean, nowadays, so many films are super disturbing now. Like, not disturbing, like, gory, bloody, all that. If movies that can't, like, rated R movies came out nowadays, back in the day, they'd get a fucking X rating. This movie was cut down even. The theatrical release was, like, cut a little bit. They cut some things. And I think some cuts of it got an X rating. And even though there are bad scenes in it, most of it is not even that bad, aside from a couple things. And that's like, that just kind of shows you how much of a different time for movies it was around that time. But I honestly was, like, laughing more throughout the film, mainly throughout the second half, and a little bit, even for the first half, because there are some, like, really big, like, black comedy parts of the movie, where, like, there's, like, really disturbing, like, humiliation and non-consensual things going on. It just cuts to the girl's parents just, like, cooking a cake and having a great time. It's, like, really dark and really kind of messed up, but it's also, like, so... It's, like, such a big juxtaposition. You can't help but laugh at it because of how ridiculous it is. Like, even though, as I described in massive detail how much of a different time period this was for movies, I still can't believe that this movie, of all things, was super controversial and super bad. I mean, as I said, before and again, bad scenes. Yes, obviously those scenes are disturbing and shocking. Wes Craven literally just made this movie to shock people. I mean, that's pretty much the entire point of exploitation cinema, to cause controversy and to shock people. But, like, even then, I don't know, as I said, aside from a couple scenes, I wasn't that disturbed by the film. And it was just kind of, as exceptions, obviously, this film was just kind of fun. for just aside from exceptions. But especially how this film kind of turned from like a disturbing horror movie and more like a revenge film at the end, where the parents of the girl who was murdered, like, they're trying to like get revenge because the killers are like staying at their house, so then they like set up traps, like Home Alone style, rated R Home Alone style. They set up traps in the house and they're like gonna get revenge and kill the killers, which they end up doing. So, talking about the revenge plot and all the story, the story isn't that complex. So basically, you got a girl and her friend. They're just going out in the city. Then they meet these guys and this girl, this like group of criminals who basically like escape prison. And then they kidnap them and take them to the forest, do some unruly things to them, kill them. Then they go to one of the girls who they killed. They go to their parents' house, who they eventually find out is the parents to the girl they killed. And they have dinner with them, and it's kind of awkward. Then one of the people who's with them, the kid of one of the killers, he has remorse, and even though he didn't kill her, he didn't do anything. He's like remorseful, and he feels bad about it. He's probably the least bad one out of all of them because he doesn't really do anything. He just kind of is a witness, pretty much, you know, more of like a forced accomplice, a little bit. But then, eventually the parents find out and they end up killing all the killers one by one, and like a revenge story. And the movie ends with, the dad of the girl, like with a live chainsaw with socks on wooden floorboards with a real live chainsaw. I'm not even joking. That is definitely not safe, but whatever, it was 1972. And he's like getting at the guy with the chainsaw, and he like chops at him. But they never even show it, and there's a lot of blood. Like, I will say, whenever somebody dies in this, there is blood aplenty, right? And it's not like a fountain, like in some movies. It's like there's just red everywhere. Like, it's red shirt now. You look like Santa Claus. That's how Santa's shirt's red. But, yeah, just completely. But then again, as I said, the movie's bloody, but it's not necessarily gory. You know? There's only like one gore effect, and that's like the girl's arm. Right? Like half of her arm. Like the other girl that they killed, the daughter's friend. Right? The rest of it, there's a lot of blood, sure, but not that much, like, gore effects. You know, I don't really think they could. I don't know. But anyway. Yeah. Then the movie ends. Also, by the way, there was, like, a subplot going on with these cops who they're trying to get to the house, but they ran out of gas because the guy's partner is an idiot. Or maybe the sheriff, and the partner's the smart one and the sheriff's the idiot. And they have to get to the house on foot, which they said to drive there, it would take 45 minutes just to drive there. Well, normal speed, but still, they have to walk all the way there. It's going to take a long-ass time. And by the time they get there, great timing, they've killed all the killers already, and the families are, not only are they mourning, they're also probably emotionally scarred, even though these people definitely got what they deserved. They still murdered people, you know, and that, even if how much of a terrible person, you're still killing somebody, and that damages a normal person, you know, you're still killing someone. And yeah, the movie just ends with the cops getting there right as the dad like chops off one of the killer's head, and he like kills him with the chainsaw, and then the movie like ends on a shot of the dad. But then another like really funny juxtaposition. The end credits with all the actors, it looks like the opening to a fucking sitcom. Like it's so appropriate. It's so funny because like if you saw the credits and only the credits for this movie, you would not think it was for the movie that it was for. You would think that it was for some like cheesy sitcom. It's like, the soundtrack too for the movie. Like, even though the soundtrack's great, it's super goofy and ridiculous. Like, I mean, yeah, there's obviously some like disturbing like chase music here, really great music that's well placed in a Wes Craven movie, obviously. But, like, there are still some scenes where, like, just the, like, do like, really goofy music. But I like it because of how ridiculous it is. I think I find this film more ridiculous than disturbing nowadays, as I said many times, aside from a couple scenes. Now, I say that I enjoyed this film. Not every scene was meant to be enjoyable, obviously. I didn't enjoy those scenes. They were intentionally disturbing, and I was, like, uncomfortable during them because that's the point. But most of the time, I was enjoying myself, having a great time, just laughing at how ridiculous the movie is. And even though the tagline of the film back in the day was, "How far can a movie go?" this film didn't go very far, except it kind of did for the time, but nowadays it's kind of just a little silly. Aside from a couple scenes. I have to keep specifying. But, would I recommend this film? Now, it really depends on if you're, like, now when I say extreme cinema, I say it's very light extreme cinema. This doesn't even touch some levels of extreme cinema. But if you're, like, trying to dabble your feet in extreme cinema, I guess this is a good place to start, because you're going to get into some real shit after that. But if you want to dabble into some extreme cinema and then get into the more extreme stuff, this might be a good place to start. But if you're more touchy on, you know, sexual assault scenes and stuff like that, if you don't like those things, make you uncomfortable, or they trigger something in you, I would not recommend that, because that scene, even though it is disturbing, it is pretty vital to the story, due to that's the whole revenge part for the parents, you know? So, if you're kind of touchy on those scenes, I wouldn't recommend it. But if you're fine with that, and it doesn't bother you, then do what you want. But I would recommend this film for horror fans, if you want to dabble in light extreme cinema, and then get into the bigger stuff later. Also recommend it for that. But for just normal, regular people, maybe you'll get some enjoyment, but it's really up to you. But, yeah, that's what I think. And I think I'd rate this film an 8 out of 10. I very much enjoyed myself. And if you're a fan of horror, as I said, light extreme cinema, you will too. Maybe. Not your dad. But, you know, I think I've said all I need to say. I think I've said my piece. So, guys, hope you'll like this video. Share with your friends. Subscribe to his notifications on. Comment below on how much you liked it. And have a time HD. Signing off. And, guys, to keep yourselves from fainting from watching this review, just repeat over and over. It's only a review. It's only a review. It's only a review. It's only a review. It's only a review.
What are you fucking Mr. Burns? Let the fools have their tartar sauce.
Smithers.